Hello there, and in this video it's time to take a better look at my latest acquisition, this £500 Volvo XC90. Now I'm sure you can imagine a car this cheap is going to have plenty of problems, but in this video we'll take a better look around it and I'll show you in a bit more detail what I know is wrong with it and basically what some of my plans are. Now, in case you didn't see the original video, I came across this car after a tip-off from my parents, basically. The owner of the vehicle had put the wheels up for sale on a forum where they lived because the vehicle itself was going to be sent for scrap. My dad went round, had a look at it, he'd seen it running and driving and just said to me, you know, surely this thing's got to be worth saving rather than scrapping. So I got in touch with the owner, offered them £500, I think they were offered 483 scrap for it. And thankfully they said yes. Now I knew it was running and driving, it had got MOT until October. So yeah, I thought it's got to be worth trying to save, it's got to be worth trying to do something with. Now the vehicle itself has been in the same family, I think, for most of its life. I know it was previously owned by their father, and she seemed genuinely pleased that somebody was going to actually have a go at trying to save it. And one of the other reasons I was interested in trying to save it was because if you look at it, it's a 52 plate, which actually makes it one of the earliest registered XC90s left in the country. So yeah, I wanted to have a go and see if there was something I could do to keep this car alive, basically. Now, it has been a few weeks since I've bought the vehicle. Unfortunately, I've not been so well. In fact, to give you some idea how unwell I've been, I haven't washed this or any other cars that I own in well over a month. What? So yeah, I know it's quite shocking for me. But thankfully, that's given me a little bit of time to have a good look at this and start to formulate a plan as to what I'm going to do with it. So we'll get you off the tripod and we'll start and have a really good look around this, and I'll show you, well, basically what £500 has gotten me in terms of Volvo XC90. Okay, so starting at the front, first thing you'll probably notice is it's got two very new looking headlights. Now these aren't the original Valeo units, they are TYC ones, so aftermarket. They're not bad, but they are already showing, interestingly, a few little signs of degradation which I'm going to have to deal with. But I know they were replaced because I think they were a failure on a previous MOT. They're pretty good in the dark and they do brighten up the front of the car quite a bit because most Volvo XC90s of around this sort of age do have quite cataracty looking headlights and need rubbing back a lot. One of the other things you'll notice, or I noticed rather looking around, we've got some rather unusual damage here on this bumper. Almost looks like it's been run into a wall or a post or something multiple times, so I'll have to see what I can do with that. And I think if I remember correctly, yeah, there's another little dink or dent on there, but I'm sure all this bit of plastic trim is locatable and replaceable. And again, as I mentioned earlier, 52 plate, so I think it was January 2003 this was registered. It's a very, very early one. There's no obvious leaks, ignore what's on the driveway at the bottom, that's the V70 that's been leaking there, but you know, the intercooler and air conditioning condenser and everything all look okay. There's nothing sort of obviously out of order. I say there's the usual stone chips and stuff that you'd expect to see for this sort of mileage, but you know, there's no significant rust bubbles or anything like that that you wouldn't want to see. I don't know what that's come from. It almost looks like it's been caught with a football or something, but I'm sure that'll polish out. Up front, everything looks pretty good, and I say for 176,000 miles, it's not even particularly stone chippy. I really don't think it looks too bad at all. So moving down to the offside front, got a nice new Michelin Cross Climate tyre. I don't know if I can see the date code on this side, I don't think I can. You can see there's absolutely loads of tread left on that. The wheels were repainted, I don't think they were powder coated, they do look like they've been painted. I'm not so sure about the colour myself, so I probably will get those redone back in silver at some point. And those brake discs, so they're quite worn. I have had a look at the pads and there is plenty of meat on them, but I do think a set of discs and pads up front probably wouldn't go amiss, if I'm honest. Yeah, I'll say other than that, along that wing, there's no major damage. It's all dirty and in need of a damn good clean. Does look like the driver's door mirror has seen a few impacts at some point. We've got a bit of broken trim around there, and it looks like it may have collided with things of several different colours as well. So yeah, we'll have to try and get that sorted at some point. But like I say, I mean, if you look down the side of it, it does all look pretty straight. And there's a few little ripples, but there's no major dents or dings or damage. Now, one thing that is a problem, and it's quite common on XC90s, I think, is this bit of chrome trim here. You can see it's coming away, and somebody has had a go in the past at gluing it on with fairly mucky results, unfortunately. So I will have to see if I can do something about that, see if I can source some replacement trim and find a way of securing that down a bit better. But yeah, that's maybe just a little bit of double-sided tape for now might just be enough to sort of stick that back down and stop it flapping around and looking unsightly. As you can see, driver's door handle's fairly well worn. The early phase 1 door handles do seem to fade quite a lot. I'll show you that back one. It's even more faded. Look, see how it's all sort of gone away. So I might put some polytrol on there and see if I can use that to tidy it up. Otherwise, I might see if I can get a set of replacement door handles just to tidy that up. But yeah, like I say, I mean, all the trim's there. There's no major gouges or dings or anything to speak of. Roof rails look a little faded, but again, I think they'll respond to a bit of polytrol or I think the Ceratec stuff I used recently. The same with these chrome trims, but you can see how dirty it is. Look, it's not been given a wash in a really long time. One good thing, although that mirror's seen a bit of damage, at least it's the housing rather has seen a bit of damage. The mirror itself doesn't look too bad. So yeah, I mean, there's plenty of little dinks and marks, but I think quite a few of these are going to polish out and come out okay. If we just drop down to the rear, again, brand new Michelin Cross Climate 2 tyre with loads of tread on it. Can I see a date code on this one? No, I think we might have to go around the other side to spot the date codes. Never mind, I'll have a look in a minute. But yeah, much the same situation as on the front. New tyre, brake discs have got a little bit of a lip on them. Again, I've looked at the pads and they look okay. The one thing I do know is that the parking brake doesn't work. Now, the parking brake is a bit of a P2 weak point, unfortunately. They often don't get used on automatics, and this one is no exception. So I'm going to have to take these off, strip them down and find out what is going on with that. It could just be that it needs a pair of shoes. I think it's more likely that the shoes are probably fine and that the handbrake cable has stretched. What I will do about that, rather than replacing the handbrake, or rather should I say foot brake cable, you can retrofit adjusters to these that will kind of sort of take that slack out and make the mechanism work again. So that's what I'll wind up doing to cure that problem. But like I say, for now, I know that certainly is one of my MOT failure points, or future MOT failure points is going to be the parking brake. So I need to try and do something about that. If I just lift this for a second, this will give you some idea how little it's been cleaned. Let's stay to that. So yeah, I really do need to sort of get into this and start giving it a good clean. Coming around the back, first notable item, because I've shinned myself on it at least twice now, is that tow bar, which I'm in two minds about. I am tempted to take that off because, like I say, I keep whacking into it, and obviously it adds length onto the back of an already long car when you're trying to park it. The flip side is that this might be useful if I do ever need to tow anything. So I'm kind of 50-50 on it. If it does stay there, it's going to need a good coat of paint and sorting out. It does look a bit grim at the moment. One of the things I've noticed is I've got a missing cover there. I don't know what that's for. I don't think there's it feels like there might be a towing eye hook there or something, so I wonder if it's been recovered in the past and that's been lost. I'm sure I can get another one of those from somewhere. But again, other than that, everything seems pretty good on the back. Rear wiper works, which makes a change, because I think the last couple of P2s I've had have all had dicky rear wipers, but this one seems to be okay. Well, I am missing that cover, which I'll need to sort out. By the way, there used to be two cars in this household, I believe, or the father had two cars, which is why there is I think one had car 1 and one had car 2 on it, so in case you're wondering where that sticker's come from. But yeah, other than that, I've got a few little Scratches and marks on this tailgate to sort out. You might be able to see it's got quite a dark tint in the back that's starting to come away as well. I'll give you a better view of that on the inside in a little minute, but yeah, that's going to have to go. I'm not so keen on that, but yeah, I mean, other than that, round the back, everything looks sound. There's nothing broken. Everything works. Like I say, I'm just not so keen on that tow bar. Coming round to the near side rear, another brand new Michelin Cross Climate tyre. Much the same situation again with the brakes. I've just noticed all the mud in the wheel arches. Look. Oh yeah, I need to get the pressure washer on this. Look at that. You see how much mud just came off then? Yeah, we really need to get this washed. But yeah, like I say, much the same situation. They all need stripping back. You can see it's got Jurid pads on the back, so they're not going to be original discs and pads anyway. No real surprise there. So yeah, and can I see a date code on this Cross Climate? I can, and it is 4723. So they were made in the 47th week of 2023. So that'll give you some idea just how new these tyres are, which is quite positive. Again, plenty of muck. Got a little bit of rust on the bottom of the door there. I might just see if I can catch that and sort that out. That's probably about the biggest gouge you can see in that plastic section there or plastic protected section on the door there. Thankfully it's not broken through and caused any rust yet. And again, if you look down the side, it all looks pretty straight. I do think it might have had some paint on this side, because that does, to my eye, look a little flat. But again, we'll see how it responds to a bit of a polish, I think. We've got the same problem with the trim pieces on this side as well, coming away. Again, I might just see if I can find a way to just stick them down for now. A few little, what do they call that? Them little like sun cream marks. You know, where people put sun cream on their hands, it seems to mark paintwork in a strange way. But again, I think all of those probably will polish out. But yeah, you've got to agree, or at least hope you will agree, that that looks pretty straight really for a car for 500 notes. Like I say, got some marks that won't polish out, but I mean, for a car of this age, you know, it's cosmetically it's no worse, I don't think, than the V70 is, and I think it'll really respond to a sort of a good clean up and polish. So looking at the driver's door now, not driver's door, sorry, passenger door. Passenger side mirror housing is all nice and intact. The one thing I forgot to mention is I do think it's had a replacement windscreen at some point, because it's remarkably scratch free for the mileage. Looking at it, I'm wondering if it is actually a genuine Volvo one as well, because it's got all the SIPs and SRS logos in it. I said SSRS then because I work in IT and that's something completely different. But yeah, that's all there and present. Now, if we get down to the near side front, bear with me, because the trouble with trying to record these videos is that my road is a little bit like the M25, it feels like sometimes. You might notice this is a slightly different Cross Climate. So this is actually an OE Cross Climate. Cross Climate or Cross Climate SUV. So it's the original version of it, whereas all the others are the later gen ones for some reason. I don't quite know why, but I think this is still fairly recent. So this was the 12th week of 2023 as well. So yeah, they're all 2023 tyres. Now, I don't know why this is different to the rest. I should have checked with the previous owner really, but in any event, yeah, eventually I might get that matched up to the rest, but it's really no biggie for now. You know, I don't think it's going to significantly affect the way it drives. Again, much the same situation with that front disc. I think it is ready for probably looking at and replacing. There is plenty of meat on those pads. That caliper looks quite new as well, actually. I wonder if it's had a new caliper on that side. But yeah, I say everything else all looks good and in order. So yeah, I don't think it looks too bad at all. I mean, for a car that's only set me back 500 quid, it's remarkably clean. And those headlights and wheels do make quite a difference to the way it looks, I think. So anyway, that's the outside. Let's go and have a look around the inside. So starting on the driver's side, so there's plenty of muck to deal with, so it's going to have me busy with the Bissell. But you know, things are a bit tired and tatty, but everything's pretty much present and complete. Driver's seat's got a few things I'm going to have to deal with, so I've got a bit of white paint here. Both the front seats, the leather is nice and intact on them, so it's not broken in any way, but it has come unstitched on the middle of the seat base, and it's the same on both front seats. So I'll see if I can do something about that. Also got very common P2 problem there. If you look, you can see the fabric is just starting to come away from the A-pillars, from the A-pillar covers. Again, that's super duper common on these, so I'll have to pop them off and see if I can get them recovered. But yeah, I mean, overall, it really doesn't look so bad. One of the big bonuses with this, compared to some of the other early P2s I've seen, is if you have a look, my headlining, although it's a little bit grubby, is completely intact. Quite a few of these cars suffer from saggy headlining when they get to this age, so I'm quite pleased that it's all together. But yeah, everything works. The radio works, the climate control works, the air conditioning's working, which is great. I'm not sure the heated seats are working, which is a mild disappointment for me, but you know, we'll investigate that and see what the dealio is. I'll just check if I've got the key on me, which I should have, and we'll see whether or not we get problem number one up or not, because one of the main reasons this car was sold is that the dim module isn't working. So we'll see if I get anything when I turn the ignition on. This time, no, nothing, just an engine light, and that's it. So yeah, we've got a problem there. Basically, the DIM, or driver's information module, is not very well. Now, that's quite a common problem on early P2s. This particular generation, they got better after, I think, 2005, and they don't seem to suffer from quite as many DIM module failures. Having had a brief look through the history, I think it's already been repaired a couple of times, so that does worry me a little bit that I might not be able to get it fixed this time around, but we'll have to see. So that's going to be my first job, basically, is to get that sent away and repaired, because obviously without that working, you're sort of struggling for other information about the car. Now, it is inconsistent. Sometimes you can start the car up and you'll get you know, information come up about the vehicle. It'll show you temperature and amount of fuel and everything else. Usually what happens is you get the clocks initially and then they die about sort of 3 or 4 minutes into a drive. So what I've been using whilst doing little local trips in it is I've just been using, I had my phone there on that mount with the GPS Speedo app on, just to make sure that I know what's going on. Obviously I wouldn't do any significant distance like that, but at, you know, it's something that's going to need sorting out. I think they were quoted something obscene like 500 quid as well to get that looked at. I'm pretty confident I can sort that out for less. But anyway, rambling over. Oh, one of the other things I picked up on when I looked around at this car, and I don't know how well you're going to be able to see it on there. That is an electrochromatic mirror, and I think it's stuck on maximum dim. Now it's hard to tell because of that really dark tint that's in the back of the car, but that's something I may need to look at. You have to be careful with these. You can't just plug and play these out of another vehicle, because inside here, believe it or not, is a module that controls various things on the car. So if you just get one of these from a breaker and try and swap them, you'll run into other problems. But yeah, so I need to sort that out. But again, sort of everything else, yeah, it's tired, but you know, I think it really is largely just a case of cleaning it up and maybe swapping a few bits of worn out trim. Now I know Jim and Sean, who I refer to online as the interior police, would quite like me to fit a lighter coloured interior into this, and they're not keen on black leather, so that's something I may consider doing if the rest of the project goes to plan later on down the line. Obviously, you know, I don't want to get into putting interiors and other bits into this car at this early stage, because I still need to find out ultimately whether or not this is going to be viable. But like I say, maybe we will do eventually. I have seen like it's almost like a baseball brown leather interior, and I think that against the black carpets and the lighter roof lining would look really nice in here. So I might have a look for one of those. And the good news is, well, I don't know whether you say it's good news or bad news, quite a few of these are turning up in the breakers now, so hopefully I should be able to get the parts that I need. But yeah, like I say, everything's there, you know, things are worn and needs to be tidied up or stitched, but yeah, for 500 notes, it's really not bad at all, I'll say. Plenty of muck to deal with. I'll say even the electric seats work, albeit noisily. Oh, that was the other thing I noticed. I think I mentioned, or can't remember if I've mentioned yet, that this car does occasionally go into limp home mode, and it does look like the previous owner may have been trying to do something about that. Oh, and also the OBD2 cover is missing, which should also tell you that things have been happening with this vehicle. Again, no complaints, just an observation. If you see that, if you find this cover missing on a car, chances are you are buying a problem. I knew I was buying a problem, so I don't mind, but always look out for stuff like that. Anyway, continuing to ramble around the back. Again, it's sort of all, it's all there. You can see more evidence of this horrible tint, which I need to get rid of. One thing I'll do at some point, probably in another video, is I'll do a bit of a treasure hunt, and we'll take everything out of this car and see what we find in it. But yeah, I mean, like I say, it's all there. It just needs a good clean up, really. A rather cute air freshener there. But yeah, everything's there. Everything's present. It's just grubby. The previous owner did use this as a dog car, and when you see the boot, oh boy, yeah, it was definitely used as a dog car. But like I say, there's no major damage to anything. Like it just needs a damn good clean. Ignore that USB cable. That is to replace a long USB cable that I broke yesterday with my bottom. And I'll probably go on some detail about that in a blog post later on. Yeah, more horrible tint. Now, one of the things I like about the XC90 is this split rear tailgate assembly. Tailgate is plastic, and you've got this foldy bit down here. And there we go. But yeah, it's everything's here and everything's present, but everything is also mucho grubbioso. So yeah, it'll be a case of get the Bissell on this and try and give it a really good tidy up. Now, just bear with me a second, because I'm going to lift these up and then talk about something else that I need to look into and investigate. There you go, more evidence of wonderful grime and dog hair that I've got to sort out. There you go, it's the full 7 seats in the back, and again they all look pretty grubby and are going to need to be sorted out at some point. But the reason I've lifted this up is one of the concerns that the previous owner cited to me was that the garage had told them they thought they'd seen some evidence of rodent damage in the back and some chewed wires. Now, I've had both of these sections out to investigate, and so far I haven't found any evidence of that. I've had a good look. I can't see any evidence of droppings. I can see a bit of sort of, I don't know how well you're going to be able to see it. There's that bit of white foam down there that looks like it's sort of disintegrated, but I can't see any droppings or anything to suggest that there has been anything living down there, although it is possible. So, and the other thing as well is they've normally got quite a distinctive smell. Having had one unknowingly living in my kitchen for a while, a few years ago, but I can't see anything obvious. I can see lots of dirt and detritus, but I can't see any droppings, and I certainly can't see any evidence of chewed wires. So I'm hoping that that's not the case and I'm going to be okay, but obviously I'll know more when I start digging into it a little bit more in detail. I will have all of these trim panels out and check for everything. I've just bought a multimeter so that I can do proper continuity testing and wire testing, because as well as needing to investigate this, I've got a few electrical jobs that need to be done on the BX. But yeah, I'm hoping that it is just that bit of white foam down there that they noticed that I think is more disintegrating rather than being chewed, although that could be wishful thinking. But yeah, like I say, there's plenty to do back here. I need to get all this trim and everything tidied up. Some of it's quite heavily scratched, so I might see if I can replace it, but you know, at the end of the day, they're always well-used, functional cars. You know, they're not, they don't tend to be cherished. They're used by families, and I mean, this is effectively going to be for me almost like a large van. I mean, it's an absolutely huge load capacity. You know, even substantially bigger than the V70 is. So at least there is an actual sort of estate versus SUV advantage, because quite often there isn't when you compare platforms on these cars. So yeah, I'm probably not going to go too crazy beautifying the rear, but I will try and tidy it up a bit and obviously get rid of all this moss and dirt. Now I mentioned the tint earlier, and it's by far and away the worst on this back window. You can actually see it's been taken away. I'd imagine from where the dog's probably been in the back, perhaps looking out or jumping up against the glass. One of the challenges I'm going to have, I think, trying to remove that on the rear window is obviously we've got this heated rear window element. You perhaps already see a bit where it's gone there. So it's going to be hard, I think, to get that out and not pull the heating element off with it. So I'll have to see what I can do about that. I suppose worst case scenario is I wind up getting an untinted tailgate in the same colour and I swap them over, which would be a bit of a faff, but you know, if I have to do it, I have to do it. I think the good news is tailgate struts work, so I've not been whacked on the head yet. You know, so I say yet because it's bound to happen sooner or later. I also love these split rear tailgates. I'm quite looking forward to, I don't know, maybe going camping and sitting on that and having my breakfast. So yeah, not too bad at all, I don't think, really. So just having a quick look underneath on the rear. You can see we've got a spare. Goodness knows how old that is. I bet that's the original, so I'll need to look into that. I think it's had a recent-ish back box. And then the only sort of other area that immediately leaps out at me is this rear subframe. Now I have done a bit of reading and I can't find any evidence of an XC90 ever being condemned due to rust on the rear subframe. But even still, I'm a little bit concerned about that. So I think it'll probably be a good excuse to go and buy some rust neutralising primer, a bunch of wire brushes and a bit of Alpha Lan, and we'll see if we can tidy that up, paint it up and protect it and just stop it from getting any worse. I mean, I've poked and prodded it and it is absolutely completely solid, but even still I want to tidy that up. You know, I know that rusty subframes can cause problems on vehicles like Fiat 500s, but like I say, I've just not found any evidence, so far at least anyway, of an XC90 that's ever gone as a result of that. So just having a bit of a closer look now. I think those wishbones are probably going to need to be done at some point as well. Yeah, we've got a few little bits that we're going to need to look at. I know that the lower ball joint, probably not going to be able to see from here, it's been replaced on that side, and I've just been having a bit of a visual check on this one, and I can just about see, I don't know if you'll be able to see it or not, I think you can see the metal ball through the rubber dust boot. So that's going to want sorting out at some point as well. So I'll add that to my list of things to do. But you know, the whole thing is fairly baggy, so it's going to benefit from the usual suspension and sort of steering refreshers that you would do for one of these. I am going to do, by the way, a more detailed mechanical inspection video where I'll jack up each corner of the car, check for play and things like that. And I'm also more than likely going to book it in at a local garage to me just up the road who does my MOTs, and ask them to do a safety inspection on it as well, just to make sure that I've not missed anything sort of substantial from my initial look around it. Okay, let's fire it up and you can have a listen. It does occasionally start a bit rough. Oh, we've got clocks this time, look. There you go, so this time we've got dials. What I've noticed when the dashboard does light up is there isn't a lot of lighting here. I mean, I've got an SRS airbag urgent warning message on there. And then eventually as you start driving it'll say brake failure, stop safely, then the dim module goes berserk and then it switches off. But yeah, well, let's see how it starts. Like I say, I have had a couple of rough starts. I do think one of the injectors might be a little bit suspect because it chuffs a little under load as well. Sorry, let's just move my sunglasses out of the way. They're probably rattling against my oops, I've just caught the washer jets. So should we do a wiper test? Let's do a wiper test for his hub nuttiness. Not that he'll be that bothered. I've got the door open, so this is probably going to backfire on me. Yeah, I'm getting wet. But there you go. Nice overlap, no triangle of doom. So that will keep him of the hub nuttery happy. Anyway, let's get back to what I was supposed to be doing. Key that off now because, well, to be fair, in this temperature I don't know as it's going to be using the glow plugs. It's 22 degrees today, but let's fire it up and see how many cylinders we get. That doesn't sound too bad. Pop the bonnet. Now, all the keys are currently in the car, so let's put the window down. That's a trick I learned from watching Raymond Ray. And very much says, you know, if you put key in vehicle, don't also then lock key in vehicle. There we go. You can see it churning away there. It's a early Euro 3 D5, 163 brake horsepower. And one of the good things about this particular engine is it doesn't have a lot of the Euro 4 and Euro 5 problems that exist out there. So there's no swirl flats to deal with. And I don't believe, although I need to double check, that there's a DPF on it either. So potentially it'll be an easier one to work on. Now, one thing I have noticed, having a good look around, is I can't see any evidence at all of a cam belt sticker. I have peeled the cover back briefly to have a look, and it doesn't look like it's the original belt, so I'm sure it has been done at some point. But obviously, I won't risk doing any significant mileage in it with not knowing what the age and condition of the belt is. But like I say, the plan is to try and do one job at a time and not get into a parts buying frenzy as I've been known to with other vehicles in the past. So yeah, that's what we're going to do. Dim first, and then I will do the cam belt and the auxiliary belt. Like I say, everything sounds okay down there. I do hear a little bit of noise on that auxiliary belt, which makes me think it may be worth changing the freewheeling pulley on the alternator as well. But like I say, as you can hear, sounds perfectly normal for one of these. There is a little bit of chuffing. Now that could be one of two things. It could be a diesel injector. Again, I need to get the covers off and see if there's any evidence of, you know, it getting by, or black death as they call it, where it comes up the top. But it could also be that the engine mounts are tired. Now the engine mounts on Euro 3, in fact all D5s, are vacuum operated, and when they go wrong they can cause like an extra chugging or chuffing noise. And I think if I take the cap off, you probably will hear a chugging or chuffing noise. I think that's indicative of a vacuum system that's not quite happy. And like I say, I suspect that it does need the engine mounts looking at. So I will vacuum test, and there's one at the front there, and there's one obviously that you can't see at the back. I do know that the engine mounts aren't in the best flush of health, because there's a sort of a standard rubber mount that sits underneath the pulley on that side, and I know that is, well, there's no other word for it, it's knackered. Again, I'll show you a better picture of that in a future video where I sort of go around the car in a little bit more detail. But yeah, I mean, it sounds fine. It sounds like you would expect one of these to sound. You know, there's no blowing, there's nothing like that. Sounds perfectly reasonable around the back, and unlike this thing that's got, you know, quite a noisy exhaust and a rattling catalytic converter, this is actually surprisingly quiet and pleasant on the go. One issue that it does have, that I mentioned earlier, and it seems to be when it's from cold, but moderate throttle seems to send it into some form of limp home mode. You can turn it off and back on, and it'll drive away fine. And once the car's up to temperature, it doesn't seem to happen. It's only happening sort of on that initial sort of startup. Now, because the driver module doesn't work, I've not bothered plugging this in and doing any form of OBD2 investigation yet. I've just bought a top scan to do that, to do an initial test. That will be in a future video. As long as the driver module's not working, you're probably going to have other problems or codes in the car. So I want to get the DIM module replaced first, so that I know that everything is communicating correctly, and then I will look into it. And what I have found occasionally as well is that I think when the driver module stops working, the gearbox seems to go into a bit of a defaulty limpy mode, which is the other reason why I want to get the clocks done before I mess about too much with anything else. But yeah, I say it sounds exactly as I would expect one of these to sound. In fact, on the move, I'd actually say this is quieter than the later one that I had. I had a 2.4 D5 XC60, which round town was loads noisier than this, although weirdly loads quieter at 70. This one's noisier at 70, so go figure. The gearing might be different or whatever, I don't know. Anyway, let's knock it off rather than wasting diesel. But yeah, let's say it's nice to see the clocks working. I bet they won't when we go out for a drive in a minute. Like I say, I mean, I've been through and checked the majority of things. One of the things I was slightly concerned about, and you should check this on any used P2 now really, particularly if you're buying them in the continent where they do a lot of gritting or road salting, is keep an eye out on your strut tops, because although P2s are very rust resistant, the one area where they can have a problem is in the strut towers. So if you see them bubbling through on the edges or on the top, you're in serious trouble, and it's the kind of thing that, if I'm honest, can write off the cars. I was a little bit nervous when I first looked at it because I did see this spot of rust here, but I think it's just related to these original markings in the castings rather than anything that's coming up from underneath, because the mode of failure that they go through is that the strut top starts to sort of move around inside, and it gets through the paint and the coating and damages them. But like I say, I don't think that's the case with these. If I wind up keeping the car long term and I wind up changing the suspension, I will take all of this out, clean it up, paint it, rust prime it and everything, so that they stay solid. But from what I can tell, they look absolutely fine. And then, like I say, everything else under here looks really as you would expect for 22 odd years and 176,000 miles. So there's a fair few leaks in a few places. I have got my doubts about that power steering line. I think that's probably going to need to be looked at some point. But yeah, I mean, it's all fine. It's all there. Nothing's broke, and it seems to drive okay. So speaking of driving, I'm going to stop waffling now. I'll go and put the camera in the car, and I'll take you out for a brief drive and show you what it's like on the road. Oh, okay, let's take it for a quick drive, and we'll go on a vital mission. Whack it into drive, and off we shall go. Usually, of course, what happens as soon as I decide I need to go somewhere is this entire road turns like the M25. Oh, it was actually holding it a bit on the parking brake then. That's nice. Right, off we go. So yeah, it drives pretty much largely as you would expect one of these to drive with this sort of mileage on. So it's done 176,000 miles. It's quite baggy, there's a fair few rattles, and it is quite, how can I put this, yollopy. Certainly compared to the XC60 I had a couple of years ago, this is nothing like that. The XC60 almost handled like a sports car, but it did have very, very, very harsh suspension. This is much, much, much softer and more compliant. But obviously it doesn't handle, and like I say, I don't think 176,000 miles of wear on original components has done it any favours either. But on the flip side, the fact that you can't really hustle it, I don't actually mind, because it means it slows you down a little bit. It makes you just sort of bimble along, and I'm also very mindful of its mass and its size. It does feel absolutely enormous going down the road, although it's quite easy to place, thankfully. The visibility is very good, the mirrors are massive, and it feels, like I say, it feels just quite, I don't know what the right word to describe is. It just feels quite special, to be honest with you, to drive. I know that sounds very, very kind of sort of cheesy and arty-farty, but it does. It's a much smoother drive, bizarrely, than my V70, my 25T, both in terms of the ride and the drivetrain, which, considering the fact that I know this has got at least one definitely knackered engine mount, is a bit strange. It's made me wonder if there's a few things I need to look into in a little bit more detail on that car. Get it on your own half, mate. It's either National No Indicating Day here or National Drive on the other person's side of the road day, depending on which day you happen to be out in this part of the world. But yeah, like I say, there's a few little squeaks and rattles going on. I'm wondering if it may, because it's cold at the moment, it might try and drop into limp home mode on me. Like I say, I can hear what to me sounds like a little bit of injector tick or something going on. That could just mean that the injectors need taking out and reseating, or it might be that we're ready for a new set. One of the other things I've picked up on in terms of the way it drives is that there is a little bit, particularly on initial application of the brakes, there's a little bit of a pull. Now that could be a number of things. It could just be that, you know, one of the brake calipers is sticking slightly. It could well be those suspension arms, because like I say, they do look fairly well cracked on both sides in terms of the bushers, or it might be that ball joint, which like I say, I don't like the look of because I can see through the dust cover. So I think even if I don't do the wishbones straight away, I'll probably do that ball joint just for peace of mind, particularly as I know it needed to be done recently on the other side. But yeah, I mean, it seems to go absolutely fine. We're doing 50. Yeah, it's a little bit noisy, but it's not harsh. There's very, very little vibration. And this is a particularly rough road that I'm driving down. And quite frankly, it's going down it as nice as the BX does. Obviously, it doesn't deal with really big bumps as well as the BX, and there's nowhere near the degree of handling and body control that you get out of VEP. VEP is just, oh, it's fantastic for that. You know, this is really the opposite end of the scale. And I do understand why, you know, certain people out there don't like these cars. Kitsch. But, you know, for me, this is the sort of car that I just would, you know, jump in and drive to Scotland in. In fact, that's kind of at the moment the vision that I've got for myself is to take this on a winter road trip and take it down to the, or rather up to the Scottish Highlands, because it's got the right tyres, you know, and it's equipped perfectly for that kind of journey. Bloody hell, where's all this traffic come from? It's never this busy along here. This is ridiculous. I'm just going to creep out in a moment because it's getting bonkers. They've not cut any of the hedges back round here. It's really becoming a problem. Yeah, it's feeling quite rough there now. I think the engine shifts around on the mounts a bit, and then when it's sat where it should be, it's fine, and when it's sat where it shouldn't be, it's not so good. Right, am I going to go up this hill? This is where I might have a problem. It's usually heavy acceleration up a hill when it's cold, but we're doing it. Oh, that's a big tractor. Breathe in, breathe in. Yeah, we're fine. Sorry, I was being a little bit over dramatic there, but yeah, it's lovely. I could see myself doing a lot of miles in this, and I think if I can just, like I say, get everything in order and tighten it up a little bit in terms of the suspension, sort that injector out, get all the belts done, obviously repair the dashboard, which at the moment is still working bizarrely enough, I think it will be quite a nice car to drive. Let's just see how it responds to a little bit of beans up here. Yeah, it seems okay. It's not going too flat. Like I say, I can hear that injector tick. I do think there's a seal or something that's gone. But as soon as you come off load, it goes very, very, very quiet indeed and very smooth. The only other thing I've noticed, I'm not doing a dual carriageway run on this drive, is when you brake from high speed, there is quite a lot of shake on the front wheel, which does suggest to me that those front discs are warped. Again, I'll just do them. And if I can, I will get genuine Volvo discs and pads because they tend to be pretty good. Other things to talk about, say the steering feels fine, the seat's nice and supportive and comfortable, the air conditioning's working really well, and so far the gearbox seems to be behaving. In fact, the gearbox in this behaves much better than it does in my V70. Now, I don't want to jinx myself with that because I haven't really had an opportunity to test it over a good long distance, the sort of drive that you really need to do in one of these to make sure that you're not going to have any gearbox problems. But it is something that I will look into. But to be honest with you, this car was so outrageously cheap that I think if I do have a gearbox problem with it, I may just have it done. I do need to have a bit of a sort of a proper dig through the service history as well, because it is possible that this may not be an all-wheel drive XC90. Many of these cars have a problem with the collar that sits on the angle gear. Basically it wears out and they effectively become front-wheel drive only. So I'll look into that. I don't think the part's particularly expensive, but I know it's not a very fun job to do. But like I say, hopefully, I mean, if it is still four-wheel drive, this is the perfect winter car for Scotland. It's a perfect winter car, really, for me in general. You know, a proper winter beater, something that I'm not going to worry too much about in terms of road salt and everything else. But yeah, I like the driving position. It seems to fit me very well ergonomically. The visibility is great. Apart from these A-pillars do restrict visibility at roundabouts and stuff quite a bit. But that's why this car has such fantastic rollover protection. And that's perhaps one of the other things that's worth mentioning about the XC90 is that since this went on sale in the UK, nobody has died in one in a car-to-car collision. And I don't think that's an accolade that can be applied to any other vehicle. And I think that's true for both generations, so both this one that's built on the P2 platform and the later one that's built on the SPA platform. And you do feel the weight and the solidity and the strength in it when you're driving it. So yeah, we're nearly at our destination. I'm just having to watch the people of Derbyshire just to make sure that they don't do anything crazy to me. I've still got a working speedo, which is nice. And we are nearly at my location to complete my vital mission of the day. And if anybody who's watching this follows me on Threads, they will probably know where I'm going shortly. I say Threads because I, like quite a few other members of the what was the Weird Car Twitter community, and we're still calling it Weird Car Twitter, have given up on Twitter. It's gone downhill, in my opinion. Yeah, they did not look at all. Yeah, it's gone downhill, in my opinion, and I just found it become a bit tiresome. So I am now full-time on Threads. So if you do follow me on Twitter and you're wondering why you haven't seen much in the way of media updates from me lately, that's why. I will still post on Twitter when videos come out, but that will be about it. Threads is going to be my main social media location going forwards. Anyway, we're nearly at our destination. Do a little bit of creeping up through the car park. And yes, I am at my sanctuary. I'm at Peacock Plant Nurseries in Heanor for the most vital mission of the day, which of course is cake. So we're going to pull up, have some cake, have a bit of a chat and have a bit of a chill. I'm going to throw this in the biggest space in the car park because it's a bit of a behemoth. And I'll do a quick video summary with you. Oh, one more thing. Shall we see if the parking brake works? I've had sort of a 50-50 on this lately. Ooh, it's holding it now. There's obviously something going on, but it's just not fully holding it. I wonder if I put it in reverse, will it hold it against the... Oh, you can drive it against the parking brake, so it's not great. Yeah, but there's some effort going on, just not really enough. So yeah, but like I say, it drives for 500 quid. It drives absolutely fine. I'm kind of over the moon with it, really. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this brief introduction video to the XC90. The next job will be to take this driver information module out and send it away to be repaired. So I will shoot that video. One of the things it's perhaps worth mentioning, if you are sort of catching up on me and my channel for the first time, I am a long form person and I tend to shoot in a fairly long and non-instructional style. You are going to see things as I come across them, as I'm working on them. So if you're looking for pure instructional versions of videos on how to, remove a module or, do a piece of work for these sorts of cars, I'm probably not going to be the best source for you. But what I will do if ever I post a video about, a piece of work on this car is I will include links to more concise versions of those videos that I've probably watched just to help you out. These are more vloggy kind of long form videos. I know that's not everybody's cup of tea, but having tried short form more recently, it's more what I prefer to do. So Yeah, just to let you know. Anyway, that's quite enough of me rambling on. I'm ready for some lunch and some cake. Thank you very much for watching. Please do consider subscribing before you go, and I'll see you in a future video. Cheerio.
That one, another one that spins and goes around, the big wheel and the roller.
Hey up, is that Tony? I thought it was Tony coming past. He'll be chuffed to bits, he's on the video now. Oh dear.